Alright, it's always awesome to start a manga haul with some good news, but it gets much more complicated if you also introduce some potential bad news, but we'll take that later. Hello monsters, my name is Daidarius and welcome to my manga haul of February 2025. As I stated, there are some good news in here. We'll get to them eventually, but let's get on to my manga haul. And first up we have Solo Leveling Volume 11. So we are hastily wrapping up Solo Leveling. And I also saw that the German release of this apparently are getting the final volume, which would be volume 13. So it does indeed look like my original estimation of how many of they're gonna be with 13 was damn spot on. But it does bring up a question though, because after volume 13 we still have, at least from webtoon chapters, 30 or something epilogue chapters to cover. And that could potentially be 1 or 2 volumes more. Are we gonna get those? I guess we'll see. I don't know. I'm just looking very much forward to having the whole series in physical format. It's gonna be awesome. But Solo Leveling, I'm not gonna dwell too much on it, other than apparently season 2 is awesome. So there's that. And we're getting close to the Jeju Island. Alright, let's get on to the next one. And next up we have this Elusive Samurai Volume 11. Really does look awesome with this new color scheme, because again, the old ones, it was red with often yellow titles and this Triforce, I think. But now, since it become white, it seems like the author is playing a lot more with the colors for the title and stuff. I know, inciting details and insights are giving, but I still haven't read it yet. I will get to it. Not soonish, but I will touch on that later also. But yes, Elusive Samurai Volume 11, making haste on catching up on all that's out right now, which I think is 14 volumes. But I haven't checked in a while, so one might have actually been released in the meantime. But we still have a few more that actually kind of connects to this, so let's get on to it. And next up we have Sakamoto Days Volume 14, and I believe Volume 16 has just been released. This was released in November, so Volume 15 should just have been released, which means I'm more or less caught up. And again, it's always awesome when you actually catch up to a series you are actively collecting, because it means you can start focusing on other things and only buy volume from Sakamoto Days when it drops. But I still have 2 more series that again isn't kind of in the same vein, so let's jump into it. And next up is Chainsaw Man Volume 17. And part 2 is looking like it's getting to the climax soon, in a few chapters. Maybe, who knows, it's gonna start. I'm just looking very much forward to see, is part 2 gonna be the end of Chainsaw Man, or are we indeed gonna get a part 3 that's gonna crank all the craziness up to 11 and then finish everything? I have no clue, but I'm looking very much forward to it. Right, we only have one more in this vaguely defined connected 4 series. I don't know what I'm talking about. Next one. And next up we have Dandadan Volume 10. I can't say more about it because I haven't read it yet. I will, again, gonna touch upon it in a moment. But yes, those are the 4 currently shonen series that I collect. I mean, I also collect others, but these are the 4 paperbacks, I guess, that I'm currently collecting and keeping up with. Besides the... It isn't now I'm looking at it, because I also have Jujutsu Kaisen, I have Black Clover, I have Kaiju no... I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to connect these 4 series, when in reality there's nothing real connecting them, except that they are all released in Shonen Jump. Currently, at this moment. Anyway, I'm rambling. I have shit all to say about this series, because either I haven't read the latest volume, or I haven't read it at all. But let's get into some series I have read, and there's only 3 left, but luckily they are in high quality. So let's get to it. And first up is Fist of the North Star Volume 15. And this is quickly ramping up the final part of Fist of the North Star. I have read up until Volume 14. I am just loving the series, and getting Kinjiro and gang getting onto this island with just Spartan level warriors that he needs to defeat to save people he loves, just seems like a fitting place for the series to end. So I'm looking very much forward to see what's the climax is gonna be. But yes, getting close to getting that blood splattered Deborah on the spines. I'm loving to see it. I'm looking very much forward to completing the whole series. It has been a long journey. We started this back in summer of 2021, I think. So yeah, it's taken some time to actually get everything. So I'm looking very much forward to wrapping it up with the final volume dropping later this year. But speaking of hardcover volumes, Soul Eater the Perfect Edition, volume 17. And I managed to finally do it. I've been collecting this also since 2021. And I now have the full series of Soul Eater. I've been eyeballing this series for 5, 6, 7 years in the paperbacks, but I never pulled the trigger because I prioritized other things. And now I finally have it all. I have the whole series. This volume is the only volume I'm actually missing to read. I've read all the rest, all the other 16 volumes. I'm just looking very much forward to see how the story is gonna wrap up, but it's such an awesome feeling to have completed a full series. I'm not gonna spend too much time more on it, because the next one is Soul Eater Not the Perfect Edition Volume 3, because this also wraps up the Soul Eater Not Perfect Edition. This is the third and final volume. I now own everything of the Soul Eater stories in hardcovers, in the deluxe edition kind of, which is great, because we're gonna put a pin in it for my bad news. But before I continue on, yes, that is everything I got in February, which is not a lot when you think about it. When you compare to all my other months or other hauls, it's not a lot. There were a few hardbacks, sure, but mostly it's because that the hardbacks and solo leveling that I got are kinda expensive compared to the other volumes. And yeah, put a pin on it. Before we get to that, let's quickly take a look at my wish list. So I'm just gonna bring the list up right here, and we already have 2 more series to cross off. Soul Eater the Perfect Edition, volume 17. I managed to get it. And then also Soul Eater Not in the Perfect Edition, volume 3. Crossing that off as well. And now, only in February, I have already crossed out 3 entries, which is awesome, but caveat, there were 3 singular volumes I had to get, so this might slow down now. Which is what always happens with these wish lists, is that I may get some tracks on it, or action on it in the beginning of the year, and then nothing happens until we get like to May, and then later on to the end of the year. So yes, which means that for you, it to make sense for you, then here is the pie chart. So these are all the volumes I actually have on my wish list, and as you can see, I have gotten now 20% of the total amount of volumes that I plan to collect, which was roughly 93, and then missing the other 80%. Now, there are some few things about this. First of all, yes, a decent chunk of it is still paperbacks, which will be easy to collect. But a different thing is there's a bigger portion that is not only hardcovers, but actual deluxe editions, which is gonna bring me on to my next point. Because it could be difficult to actually manage to get everything. I'm gonna do my best still, but there's a caveat to it. And that brings me to the bad news, so to speak, because again, we do not know if it's gonna be bad news. But in case you haven't heard, the dear Donald Trump has, or at least is trying to put tariffs on Europe, and it's gonna be like 25%, I believe. It was something like that, 25% tariffs, or whatever you're gonna call it. Which could mean that manga is gonna be much more expensive for Europeans to buy, since most of it is by Viz, Dark Horse or whatever, and they are located often, at least have the printings in the United States. Now, I also know that Viz tends to print things in Italy, which luckily is inside EU, but if it impacts it, then it's gonna mean that the deluxe edition is gonna be a lot more expensive than they already are. Now, for now, I haven't seen any changes in prices online, but it could happen further down the line later this year. So it's just something to be aware of, and also why it is such a sucky experience to be a manga collector in the EU, and especially for me in the Nordic countries, because it is an expensive hobby. It already is, but with all the VATs, taxes, imports and whatever, it's just infinitely more expensive. Anyway, other than that, and one other thing I wanted to update you on regarding why I haven't read these volumes yet, is that I have now read all of Hellsing in the deluxe editions. And if you remember if you watched at least my Read Your Backlog video, then you will know that Hellsing was one of the was one of the series I had saved for reviews. So yes, I am now in writing mode to write a script to make a manga review for Hellsing. It's been over 2 years since I last did a manga review, and I did that on Gundam: The Origin. So now I'm trying to get back into reviewing a manga series. Hopefully it will be good, but we'll see. I'm kind of rusty on doing manga reviews. I've just done other things instead, but I'm looking forward to it. So just to keep you up to date on what I'm doing, and I'm also not gonna keep you here any longer. I've been rambling like for half of this video, so half of this video is not a manga haul, but it is what it is. What does your manga haul look like? And also, are you worried about the tariffs, especially if you are in the EU? If you're not in the EU and you want some more positive things to actually talk about, have you read Hellsing or any other vampire series that you especially like? What are those? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. And always, until see you in the next video, just remember to stay awesome. See ya.